What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to a portrait painting section. I have titanium white, yellow ochre, cadmium red. This is a transparent mummy, which is basically burnt sienna. And this is alizarin permanent, terra vert, which is like sap green, burnt raw umber, ivory black, and cerulean blue. So what I'm gonna do is start off with just a little sketch, like an umber sketch. But I'm not gonna do too much for it because I'm going to work with color right away. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I might be a little rusty. So forgive me if I make any little mistakes here. So the reference is from Unsplash. Again, I don't usually do that, and I don't usually suggest that you work from uh, random images from the internet, but I just wanted to paint someone that wasn't from the 17th century or the 18th century for a little bit. So I'm locking in the placement of the head, trying to figure out my composition. I don't want to do too much for the outlines, just enough to place the head. Kind of going by feel, not really any measuring involved in this. A little tip for you, if you're right-handed and the photo reference tends to have the nose turned that way, flip it. So if you're right-handed and the nose is pointing that way, reverse it so the nose is pointing this way. So if you're right-handed, you're going to be making these kind of motions are natural for you. These are unnatural. So when you go to do things like this, place the eye socket and the nose and all that stuff, it's easier for your arm. Hey Libertas, how you doing? Hope your year has been going well. I know it's been that long. The axes for the eyes. It's kind of your standard head study. I mean, the reference is a little bit above, so we're seeing more of the top side of the model's head. The lighting is outdoorsy lighting, but I will push the shadow further than the reference. So what happens is when you're working from a reference, I'm sure a lot of YouTubers say this, but when you're working from a photo reference, you're starting off with a disadvantage as opposed to working from, say, an old master study like a Rembrandt. You're starting off at a disadvantage because you're gonna have to fix things that the camera uh, just by nature um, does, like it fisheyes and it messes with the perspective and the color is gonna be off. See how I'm pushing shadow there? Hey Kathy. Alright, so let me thin out the paint a little bit and I'm gonna put down a value for the hair. I'm just messing around with this sketch. She's wearing some kind of tiara thing, and I don't know the context of this reference, nor does it matter. It's all a series of shapes, and that's about good. And that's enough drawing. I don't need too many outlines for this. Now I'm gonna go in, mix a color. Hey, Miyaki. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Um, thank you, thank you. I'm going to put a little bit of spike lavender and linseed oil, which I just dipped the brush in it to get the paint to flow a little more. I'm going to be working quite fast in terms of say, going in with color right away. So I want the paint to be kind of fluid. The the best thing you can do if you're gonna work on a painting for a long time is to get over the fact that it doesn't have to start one particular way. So I could start like we did a while ago. We started this one, and I just kind of worked on it on my own because I was out of YouTube for a little bit. But I started it with an umber sketch, and then the one right behind it. So this has two of them. The one right behind it, I worked this way, going in with color. So you could start pretty much any way you want. There's no golden break. Let's just uh, put it that way. There's no like golden way to do it. Hey Nikriru, hello. Okay, so first little skin tone here, and I want the color to be such that it's gonna be easier for me to see drawing mistakes. So the color is doing a couple things. It's helping me see placement. It's also helping me figure out what value will ultimately go. This is not going to be the final value. Let's see, this helps me figure out, you're seeing just the edge of the model's face. I said just the standard pose. It's the kind of thing that you'll see most portrait artists do little demos of. Get started any which way you want. Doesn't matter. What matters is your knowledge of shapes. Landscape potentially, yeah. I mean, I can say with a lot of certainty that I will certainly paint a landscape on YouTube again at some point. I've just been a little out of it, a little out of the whole painting scene because, well, a lot of reasons, but one of them was the move to Virginia, Northern Virginia. I never found a group of artists to paint with, and obviously there's no excuses. There's just challenges in life, right? But I really miss painting with people. I miss painting real life people. When you're working from a reference like this, try as much as you can to pretend you're painting a real person. Um, it's a very weird thing. Hey Beanpot. Yep, I am back for today. It's a very weird thing to paint a picture of someone you don't even know. I don't really like it. It's a last resort for me. But how many times have you seen me start a Rembrandt on here? And it won't be the last time. Certainly, I'll do plenty of Rembrandt studies. That's kind of the best thing I could suggest for you to do. But I will take all suggestions. If you want me to paint another landscape later on, we'll paint another landscape later on. I'm going to let the tone of the canvas do some of the work because I'm going to get into values quite quickly. And this is a false value, meaning it's just going to be in place for the final values that are going to be there. Less pressure makes it less light. At Studio in Caminati in Philly, when I went to eons ago, this was referred to as a duotone. It's kind of like a grisaille, but not so much two tones per se. But I'm making it kind of two tones. Oh, thank you, Misaki. Yeah, I will continue to do Rembrandts for sure. I mean, it's a lifelong study. Okay, so biggest thing really is placement of the features. And it's fairly close. I mean, it's not gonna be perfect. I don't strive for it to be perfect. Close enough is close enough. And now I'm gonna go ahead and mix up a string of value. So this will be my little string. And we'll start to look at planes. I won't explain every one of them, but just feel free to ask. I don't mind talking and painting. It's actually kind of one of my favorite things to do. Starting off almost like putting on makeup, but what I'm doing is I'm looking for shadows in particular. I mean, gonna have to invent them. So here I'm gonna invent the shadow, and it's because the reference is unreliable. So you need to use your knowledge of light. You're not in the sense that I need to put a shadow here, or here, 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 here. I know that the highlight is up here, right? So the brightest light is going to be hitting here. So this is the point that's going to be most perpendicular to the sun, which is the light source here. So areas that are closer to parallel, like here, that are turning away, are going to be in shadow. But it's not some grand thing. You can do this. Anyone could do this. Hey, motivation. How are you doing? I'm putting in some little middle values prematurely right now, mainly to help me pinpoint how I'm going to alter the form, how I'm going to invent planes that should be there but are not visible because it is a photo reference. Not an easy thing to do. So that's why I'm doing something a little unnatural. That's the plane that I'm talking about that's unnatural. I usually don't do that, but that's going to help me see any kind of errors in the photograph. Now, she does have a very kind of novel, calm look to her. It's a very difficult thing to capture in paint. What you have to do is disassociate when you're painting, particularly like a younger model. It's not an easy thing to do. It's easier to paint a older Rembrandt portrait. And if you're not aware of it, younger models are the most difficult. Absolutely the most difficult. But they can be the most aesthetically appealing to the general audience. So if, like, say you're on a Facebook group and you post a picture of a painting like this, even at an unfinished looking stage, it's it's more interesting for some viewers, but it's all relative. Side plane of the face. And I purposefully made this really dark here. This is holding it together, this shadow. I'm going a little backwards about this. So say the order of operations. And there's even makeup on her that is kind of distracting. So again, this whole plane would be darker, but not very much. But it looks darker than it should be. Using green. Okay, all right, now I'm gonna break out of that yellow. Almost like a more violet color. Yeah, something about like that. Like I said, this was a false color. Now I get to change it. And the color only looks correct relative to surrounding colors. So now I'm gonna throw in something for the background. Simple, just a dark greenish blue. Can I thin out the paint? So question from Cinemanti, how do you make your painting larger than the reference? So I've been trained to use, and I teach a method of drawing referred to as not sight size. So what I mean by not sight size, and I'm just gonna call it not sight size because there's so many ways to look at it. But basically, you have your reference be either smaller or larger. In your case, you want to know how to paint it larger. So you start with big shapes and you work by feel. It's called comparative measuring. So your comparative measuring means you're either scaling up or you're scaling down. In order to make it bigger, it's the same process as if you were to make it smaller, as if you were to scale up and scale down. Start with the top and the bottom with your drawing, and then with those shapes, you find where, say, the eyes are relative to the top and the bottom, where the nose is relative to the top and the bottom, and you proceed on through comparatively measuring where things are going to fit. The way I teach is to not measure directly from the reference, but to ultimately get to the point where you can just see and feel out the proportions. Now, in the ultimate beginner stage, I do have my students work with a template, a drawing template, and that helps me show students what the true placement, true proportion of something looks like. And in the reference, there's a hair that's going around here, a strand of hair, or not strand of hair, a group of hair, whatever you call it, just hair that's in front of the face. It's kind of blocking some of the structure of her face here. But I'm not going to put that in just yet. Maybe later. Maybe never. We'll see. So warm shadow, cool shadow, warm light is a thing. It's a convention, but it does not work if, say, the model, like in the reference, is wearing a red, something red, red dress like this, and it will have a reflection in the shadow that will change the whole concept of warm light, cool light, warm shadow. So all of these surrounding shapes were in order to make it easier to ultimately figure out what the skin color should be. Like I said, this is a lot harder than it would be if I were just painting from a Rembrandt or from a live model. Because I'm going to have to go in and make stuff up to try and make this look like I was looking at a real life model. I'm starting this very similar to how I started the Nelson Shanks that we worked on a couple months ago. Hey, Kathy said you're working from a grainy picture for a commission, trying to make the skin tone, make up the skin tones. Yep, yep. There, you are. You've entered into the world of commissions where, yeah, you're gonna have to be really, really good at finding missing pieces to a puzzle. Just fun to do, but painting from life will be the best way to, for anyone for anyone, not just someone doing a commission, but for anyone to know what the colors would have looked like. Certainly not like this. This is the false color start. But we'll get into the truer colors, and that kind of tannish color is gonna be something that I think would be there in real life. So I'm gonna take a chance with it. And sometimes when all we have is a grainy reference to work from, that may be the only option to paint it that way. At least paint it that way, and then it'll give you an idea of what kind of changes would make more sense. Now I'm gonna overdo this on purpose. So yes, I know it's gonna look like I'm gonna give her a beard, but I'm gonna overdo it so that I can go with light back into dark. It's a wet on wet painting technique. Hey Bernadette, oh welcome to the YouTube channel. Thank you, thank you. So you're struggling so bad with portraits. You tried to do a few, and you want to learn it so bad. Um, I believe me, I understand what it's like to try something new and really feel like you're getting nowhere with it and struggling with it. But the best advice I can give you, and this is for almost anything really in life that's difficult to do, is to number one, always know that perfect practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect is a myth. So you want to have a clear routine, a clear set of objectives to to work on rather than trying to do it all at once. So as I give her a 5 o'clock shadow, trust me, I'm gonna go over this, but anyway, if you struggle, and this is for everyone, if you're struggling with portrait painting, then how are you doing with portrait drawing? Um, so if you feel comfortable with portrait drawing, then adding a new medium, a new material, which is paint, is going to be a lot easier if you're comfortable with it. Um, so I would isolate certain things. So as you're starting out, always remember that drawing, working on drawing is going to be the most efficient way. Perfect practice makes perfect, and and you will learn. Anyone can learn how to draw. This is true. Anyone can learn how to draw as long as you can move your hand around and apply like a pencil or charcoal, in this case, charcoal to paper. You can learn to draw. Um, anyone can learn to draw. Anyone that can draw can paint. So just be patient and work on your drawing, work on your fundamentals, light and shadow, structure. Try to stay away from photo references that are washed out. This one has pretty clear light and shadow in this direction, so that's a good thing for this reference. Let's see. Hey, Bernadette. Oh, I'm glad you liked the advice. You started drawing different parts of the face, struggling with skin tones, and knowing where to put shadows or highlights. Um, so shadow, like right here, it's a good idea to work with a variety of different poses, but these are kind of like the bread and butter. That's how like out of practice I am with these streams. This setup here is very similar to like 90% of portraits. There's almost always a shadow here, here, and here, and then under the ear. It's the most common. These are the most common placements for shadows on any portrait, really. Now, color, that's a different thing. Whole different story. Learning how to use color in a way that isn't, um, say, looking like a Rembrandt. Nothing wrong with Rembrandt, but Rembrandt paintings are not color paintings. Um, yes, the color that they used was beautiful, but it was limited, and that's why I like the old master studies because you don't have to deal with so much color. But as you see, I just put blue in the skin tone there, and that's not something that you would normally see in an old master painting. Color, learning how to use color, I will tell you the best way to learn how to use color is not through portraiture, but through still life. Do still life paintings, set up some still life in the sun. That's how you're gonna learn how to use color. Now for a basic understanding of how to use color in portraiture. Think about it this way. All skin colors, no matter what the skin complexion, no matter what nationality, no matter where we come from, all skin colors are very similar. All of them. And they're all either some some grayed out version of orange or a grayed out version of pink. Some are more orange, some are more pink. No matter what value, there's no how to paint dark skin tones uh, in to differentiate dark skin tone from light skin tone is incorrect. They're all mixed from the same, and I'll show you with a palette knife. I'll show you simplest way to do it. Start with an orange. So this is yellow ochre and let's just call it burnt sienna. I'll add a white to it. Now what I mean by grayed out is very simple. Put something in it that makes it gray. So I'm going to put blue. That's going to make it more gray just because the blue is the complement of the orange, which will brown it out or gray it out. And now we have a palish skin color. And just apply it on here. See? It's pretty much the same color. It's pretty much the same exact color. And I think I even did one demo on here. Actually, I know I did one. My memory's not that bad. I know I did one where it was all palette knife. One video where I painted an entire portrait with a palette knife. And in that video, you'll see every single mixture because when you're painting with palette knife, you have to mix every single color. You can't blend them in the brush like I'm doing here. You've got to mix them all. Hey Sam Preet, hello. Yeah, you can use primary colors too, Bernadette. I did that once. I was using red, yellow, blue with water mixables. Yeah, you can do that also. Another quick and simple one is to use burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and white. Burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and white. It's kind of a version of the primaries. And you can get a lot of different skin tones out of that. Burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, white. Hey Sam, just painting. So I haven't been here in a while, and I miss this. I miss painting with the live stream. Took a little break from it for a while. I'm always doing my online classes, however, so we never took a break from that. But I aim to do more of these painting sessions. They're fun, relaxing. Now here's the next stage in a painting, and we reached it in about 37 minutes. I call it the awkward stage. So as soon as the painting starts to resemble a human being, but it's not finished looking, let's just say finished looking, you enter into a stage that I refer to as the awkward stage, which is a stage where it is in between, kind of similar to the uncanny valley in animation. So in animation, the if you're not familiar with the uncanny valley, it's when an animation looks so close to being human, but something is off just a little bit. Something is off just a little bit. It's frightening. It's very disturbing. And it's inevitable in portraiture. It's one of the things that makes portraiture so difficult is that awkward stage, that uncanny valley. It's a psychological thing. We're so used to seeing faces every day. Every day we wake up and we see faces. It's the thing we see the most and we identify with the most. And it's what makes portraiture so hard. You just have to disassociate from it. You learn to do that through experience. Hey Sam Preet, you're a sketch artist, you're trying your third oil painting. Any advice on what to draw your first two paintings? Yeah, go for it. I'm always gonna suggest Rembrandt. That's the best teaching method, way to learn painting, portrait painting ever, is to do a Rembrandt study. That's the best. Then you start off with an excellent idea of what paintings can look like. Starting from a photo reference like this is very difficult. I wouldn't suggest it. I'm doing it because I miss painting people from real life. So and I wanted some variety, I guess. Hey Bernadette, how long have I been painting for? I find I paint other people. I like the arts more than I do building confidence. That's a good question. How long have I been painting? Let me see here. How many years ago was 2008?
It was 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years. But I had always been drawing since I was a child. I think I, uh, I know my mom has a drawing that I did when I was like in kindergarten or something. So I'd always been drawing like my whole life, but I didn't take it that seriously until 15 years ago. And around then is when I started to take portrait painting classes, and I met so many great teachers. I had so many amazing teachers throughout my life, not just in painting, but in a lot of things. I mean, I've always been fortunate with mentors and teachers. One of the reasons why I started the YouTube channel so long ago. And I was just in the right place at the right time. I got lucky. Um, I grew up in Maryland, and there was a huge painting group. I mean, huge, not just one painting group, but multiple painting groups in that area. Not so much in Northern Virginia. When I moved to Northern Virginia, I'd kind of destroyed um, my desire to paint, because nobody here had painting groups. They were all just short figure drawing groups or classes. So I was lucky. I wasn't born and raised in Northern Virginia. Um, very lucky. Let's see, Sam Preet, you wrote any photo reference or YouTube channel for advice? Um, I don't know too many art YouTube channels. I know that I have one, but here's the thing. For anyone out there, the best thing you can do if you want to learn how to paint portraits, the best thing you can do is find a mentor in real life that you admire their painting, and learn as much as you can from them. If that's not a possibility, if you live in an area where there's not that many uh, professional painters, or it's just too expensive, Rembrandt. Rembrandt is the way to go. Paint as many Rembrandts as you can. Familiarize yourself with Rembrandt. Hey, Sam Preet. Well, thank you for joining the YouTube channel. Now, in terms of other art YouTubers, I know that there's a guy named Renzo that does a lot of live streams, and a lot of my students are also students of his, so you can check that channel out. Renso, I think is his name. But the best advice I can give you, believe me, paint or draw Rembrandts and then do self-portraits. You know, like think about the Michael Jackson song, Man in the Mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. You know that song, right? Everybody knows that song. Do self-portraits. Paint and draw yourself from the mirror, man or woman, um, or whatever we identify as. Paint yourself, draw yourself from the mirror in conjunction with master studies, Rembrandt master studies. You will improve so much. So much it'll frighten you. Hey Sampreet, so not a lot of people, so you're from India, not a lot of people are painting. No worries, trust me, I know the feeling ever since I moved to Northern Virginia. And nothing wrong with Northern Virginia. I mean, there's a pool academy. So I've been a member of a billiards academy for almost a year now. And just been kind of out of painting people from life for a while. But so Sampreet, find your favorite Rembrandt reference from the internet. There's so many of them out there, and draw it with pencil or charcoal as closely as you can, and then do some self-portrait sketches It could be the same day if you want to, whatever pace that you want to do it. That will help you tremendously, tremendously. And think about it this way: some people do have mentors and they have teachers, and they end up drawing or painting just like their teacher, and they never change or improve from there. So sometimes it's a good thing to not have any artists around you, as you have no bad influences around you either. But if you love to paint, if especially if portrait painting makes you happy in a way that nothing else in the world does, that's talent right there. And talent, in my opinion, is a is a true passion for something, a true innate passion for something. If you have that passion, you will you will do great things with it. You will. It's just a matter of the right practice. Perfect practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Hey Janice, welcome, welcome. Oh no, no worries. Thank you, thank you. Trust me, it's not as easy to me as it may look. I mean, as you see me painting here, I'm struggling with it a little bit because I know I'm out of practice, at least from painting from pictures. I'm very much out of practice from painting from pictures because I spend so much time looking at Rembrandts. In my eyes, I'm painting a Rembrandt portrait. I'm painting this as if Rembrandt would have painted it. It's not as easy to me as it may seem. Um, but I will tell you, you become more comfortable with it the more you do it. And portrait painting has always brought me a certain sense of fulfillment or happiness that nothing else in the world has ever done. And I've tried a lot of things in my lifetime. I mean, I got a math degree and I was a math tutor for a little bit in my mid 20s. Started from nothing with billiards with recently. I guess that's about to be 2 years, and I got far enough. I mean, I can hold my own against people that have been playing for years. I mean, like not on a professional level, obviously. But let me tell you, nothing in my life has ever given me a sense of fulfillment or purpose as uh, as portrait painting or making videos about portrait painting. I'm gonna let the tone of the canvas be the tiara for now. Just let it be kind of loose, like how Rembrandt would have left something like that. Hey Bernadette, you said painting is the medicine for my soul. It brings me so much joy and peace. Oh, that's one of the greatest things I've heard all day. That is excellent. That you will succeed in painting. I know you will. I could bet everything on it. I know you will with that kind of attitude. Sam Preet, you wrote, you want to paint realistic paintings. You say, I don't want to paint realistic paintings. I just want to draw scenery and animals because I can draw realistic sketches. Yeah, I mean, you can apply anything that you learn through realism. You can apply into anything. I mean, you can apply it into landscapes, animals. The way I approach portrait painting is the same way I would approach a landscape or a still life, animals. same approach. Meaning if I had to bring a light into a dark, I would pull the dark out and then put the light into it. Let me show you what I mean. So I put dark in here. Now I'm pushing the light into the dark, which is more natural. But say this was a part of a tree in a landscape, it'd be the same thing. Much the same thing. See, now that edge looks more natural. Same concept. Okay, so now I'm gonna go and add more subtlety, which means I'm gonna have a third brush. So I'm gonna have a light brush, a dark brush, and this will be the middle brush. Or let's turn this into the middle brush. Which, again, if I were to do a landscape, still life, animal painting, much the same thing. I would have a light brush, middle brush, dark brush. And I'm not the most realistic of painters on YouTube. I'm probably one of the least. But I tend to focus on a more kind of like naturalism to painting. It can be unnatural for something to be super realistic, in my opinion. But it probably sells more, so I should probably learn how to do it. Um, let's see. My age, Sam, I'm 32. 32. I'm gonna turn 33 next Sunday. 32, and next Sunday I'll be 33. Yeah, no matter what the age, you can learn to paint. I once had a student when I was teaching a class in Columbia, Maryland. It was that was 90 years old, and his hand would always shake. I've told this story a couple times. But his hand would always shake. He couldn't hold his hand sturdy, and it made for some of the most elegant brushwork I had ever seen. And he had just started learning to paint at the age of 89, and that's when he started. And then by the time he took my class at the age of 90, he picked up a lot of drawing information very fast in terms of light and shadow and big shapes. Picked it up very fast. He had someone help him enter the studio, enter the school, and it was difficult for him. I also knew someone, and yeah, it's kind of a sad story in my opinion, but one of the most motivating people I've ever met in my life. He was my age, and he was on uh, I don't know exactly what condition he had, but he couldn't walk, he couldn't eat or breathe without having a air I'm not explaining this well, but he had like a thing to breathe. Every time he would speak, he had to take the tube out to speak. And he couldn't, his hand was bent in almost like this. He could only use about 2 to 3 fingers. And his hand would be like this when he would draw. And he loved to draw, he loved to paint. Um, and he worked so hard at it. He passed away a couple years ago now. But that was one of the most inspiring things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, truly great things uh, can be done. So Sanpreet, you wrote how to use brushes. I tend to use 2 or 3 brushes throughout the painting. Yeah, I'm using about 4, mainly just 3. So separate the brushes in terms of what the objectives are with the brushes. So I have a middle brush, which is for the middle values. I have a light brush, which is for the lighter values. I separate them by value. It makes it so you don't have to clean them much. And if you have an area of the painting that's mainly say green, and then you have an area of a painting that's mainly say red, then have a brush to differentiate between those so they don't get mixed up too much. Yes, Ampreet, you too. Take care. I'll see you again next time. Oh, thanks, Cassie. I hope everything's going well for you, Cassie. I don't know if you knew the zooms have changed to 4 p.m. So it's not early in the day anymore. So I don't know if you're off work at 4 one of these times. You're welcome to join. We'll have a portrait class today at 4 p.m. That's Eastern time, of course, as you know. Oh, you're on California hours. Oh yeah, I forgot you told me that. I'm glad you're painting on the weekends. Hey, you got some commissions now, so that's excellent. What? Only 6 years until you retire and paint all the time? Wow. You know, one of my goals is to be able to travel and meet all of you. So meet you, meet Carol, Ellen. You can go to Scotland and see John McGeekin. That would be awesome. So who knows? Maybe in 6 years from this video, we'll maybe hire a model and do some painting over there. Yeah, this subtle lighting is quite difficult. This diffuse shadow, not an easy thing. Yeah, of course, Massachusetts. I think I gotta double check. The McDermott Open. One of my friends was just there at a I got a pro pool tournament. I think it was there. Yes, in Massachusetts. Yeah, yeah. So one of my friends was just up there at a pro tournament. It was his first pro tournament. And I got my first amateur tournament on Saturday, which I'm terrified of. Gotta say though, I much prefer painting these days. So much more relaxing. So Bernadette, you're in Canada. It's snowy and cold. Oh no. Oh, cold and snowy. Snow landscapes, maybe. That might be an idea. They said there's tons of artists in Massachusetts. Wow. Yeah, there's There's a great community over there. That's a good place to be, Cassie. Yeah, I'd love to travel and paint over there. It's kind of like it's kind of like Maryland. There's tons of painters over there. There's a plein air competition too. I might do that one of these days. All these competitions in pool, I might as well do one in painting. Although I'm not really a fan of plein air. I'm not an outdoorsy kind of person. But one of my teachers does that event. Um, I think it's called Plein Air Easton. Hey, Angela. Yep, I am here by surprise. Great to see you. I just missed these painting sessions with the camera, the live stream. Which, by the way, everyone, you're watching this through my upgraded setup. So I've got a designated microphone. The light is right above. The camera is above, so it's above and zoomed in. This is at a slight angle, so you have less glare and less distortion. I got multiple screens, although one of them isn't working, so I've only got two. Yeah, you're playing hooky from work. Yeah, I mean, we've got about 20 people here, so more than I thought that I would have. So, whoever's watching this live, don't be shy. Feel free to say hello. I'll ask you a question, those of you that are watching this live. And it's a simple question. You know, I ask it all the time. All the time. So, where in the world are you? Where in the world are you watching this from? Don't be shy. I don't bite. I'm not some super famous artist or YouTube or anything. I'm just like you. So Bernadette, Canada, Angela's in Brazil. Yeah, Brazil, that would be fun to travel to Brazil and paint over there. You're at work too, Angela? You put another screen soon. Oh, hey. Sienna Dead's Art, thanks for watching from England. Janice in New York. Elizabeth, South Carolina. Awesome, awesome. Another thing I should mention about portrait painting or painting in general is that the time that it takes to paint something, a good time for a portrait painting session is about 3 hours. That is an ideal time to be able to paint. Now, obviously, there's, say, physical limitations. Maybe, we don't have as much energy throughout a 3 hour time period to paint. But if you do, uh, 3 hours is a good time. I'm not saying I'm gonna be here for 3 hours, because I gotta walk the doggy soon. But um, I will likely return to this one and continue to refine it, or probably do another one. We'll probably return to it. 3 hours is a good time to set up for a portrait painting session, or 1 hour. 1 hour is good to do light and shadow. And in fact, most of my students, I recommend only an hour each time. And most painting sessions are about um, 3 hours. Thanks, Elizabeth. Thank you, thank you. Hey, CNN's art. I'm glad you like the tutorials. Yeah, any feedback that you have on my videos is great. I've been very confused about what to do with them for a while. I mean, like for a while. I started doing these streams back during the pandemic, because I just wanted to do something different, and I was nervous to do painting, live painting, and unedited and all that stuff. And I found that it seemed to help more people than I thought. You know that my earlier videos are all edited and um, voiced over, and I do know that people tend to like shorter format for videos, but I find that most of you that watch these videos like these longer formats. Is that true for you? Let me know. Any feedback you have. Like I said, I know I'm not that great of a painter. There's excellent painters out here on YouTube now ever since I started back in 2017. But I aim to provide the best viewing experience for you to learn from. That's what I aim to do. Oh, how could I forget to mention this? Real quick. The one of the things that may be holding anyone back with painting is your lighting setup. So I have an LED light that's clamped above here, and the link to that is on Amazon. You don't need to buy it from there, but if you're interested and you want to buy the same light that I have, Amazon will give me like a slight uh, reward for that if you use the link to buy it. But make sure that your light is set up so that it doesn't glare on you. Mine is actually almost like right above at 90 degrees. So the glare angle, remember that the angle of reflection is equal to the whatever. But just if the light is at this angle, the glare is at this angle. It's been a while since I took physics, everyone. It's been a while. Kathy, you prefer the longer format? That's good. That's good. I'm glad you enjoy the long format, Janice. And in all honesty, everyone, it's less work for me too. I don't have to edit anything. You know, I can just paint and talk, and what a dream that is. To just paint, be able to do this every day. That's living the dream. Not just going on the pro tour with billiards, but something more calm and relaxing. So, everyone, is there something you would want me to show you how to do with with paint? Are you struggling with drawing, which I think drawing is the main thing, right? That we all need to improve on, myself included. Um, I had a request for landscape earlier. If there's something you want me to do, we can even talk about it here. I mean, it's the nice thing about these streams. Now, I don't claim to know everything or be the most knowledgeable, but I'll give you the best advice that I can. But the best advice I can give you is the advice I can't put into words, which is what I'm painting and how I'm painting. There's some things in here that I just will never learn how to verbalize. Some things you just kind of have to watch and you figure out on your own. Some of you will understand things about this that I don't. Bernadette. Darker skin tones. Okay, okay. Profiles. Okay. So profiles, darker skin tone, someone with a tattoo. So we'll start with the tattoo. That'd be the easiest, Angela. So think about the tattoo as a painting within a painting. So the person is the canvas, and a lot of tattoo artists, I guess, say this. The person is the canvas, and the tattoo is the artwork that's placed onto the canvas. What I would suggest, Angela, for painting someone with a tattoo, paint them first without the tattoo. Finish that painting without the tattoo. And then when the painting is dry, then you add the tattoo. Kind of like painting a tattoo on a real person. Wait till the painting is dry and finished, and then you can add the tattoo. Uh, and I say that because I have painted people with tattoos many times before, and I've made the mistake of painting the tattoo wet into wet. It's actually easier wet into dry, so you can wipe things out if you make a mistake. Um, so profiles, yeah, profiles. Sometimes they can be more difficult. I tend to call them easier, but they can be more difficult. So painting someone with a profile, focus on this line here. And this little area is kind of like a golden area here. It's easy to move this stuff around. It's easy to move the forehead right here, from the brow ridge down to the philtrum. Focus on that outline the most. Put your most attention on that particular area. Darker skin tones, really, really simple. It's the same exact thing as painting the lighter skin tones. For example, like here, uh, it's the same thing except with more red and green. Um, and we can do a whole painting, a whole portrait painting. And I've done a couple of them already, but we can do another one. Um, with someone with a darker skin tone. And what can help is if they have a much darker skin tone, make the background lighter, which adds contrast. So it's the same mixtures. There's no difference really. You just end up using more of your reds and greens or your burnt siennas and ultramarine blues or darker skin color. But Bernadette, we can do a whole painting. Someone with a darker skin tone. And I've done a couple on YouTube. But the first thing you want to do, Bernadette, is don't think about it as anything different than what you do with lighter skin tones. That's the biggest takeaway. Don't think about it as something different. It's not different at all. But I like the questions. They're great questions. Yep, no problem, Bernadette. I'm adding a little bit more blue. So I've been using cerulean blue as my main blue, uh, just to try something different. I also don't know where on earth my ultramarine blue is. I have it here somewhere. I just don't know where it is. So kind of by chance I've been using it. I really like cerulean blue. It's not a very strong blue. A great tinter. So, say from Bernadette, how can I learn to see what others see in my arts? People love my paintings, but I always find flaws in them. Um, a great way to, and I call it disassociation, but a great way to disassociate from um, your your painting in order to see it from other people's perspective is to use a device like a mirror. Look at the painting through a mirror. Look at the painting on Zoom. Put your phone on Zoom. Set up your camera phone on Zoom and just focus it on your painting. That'll help you see it different in different perspectives. From a more psychological standpoint, always keep this in mind. Your painting is always better than you think it is. No matter what, no matter who you are, no matter how long you've been painting, your painting is always better than you think it is. We are, we tend to be our worst critics, myself included. But always remember this. Just say it to yourself. My painting is better than I think it is. We can be so critical of ourselves. I mean, I'm like that in pool, in billiards. I mean, I played a tournament or not tournament, a league yesterday, and our team played against a team that their skill levels, their lowest skill level is better than our highest skill level, and we played them even, and we had no chance. And I don't like playing that team because they play even, and I ended up winning 3 games out of I think 9. We played 9 and I won 3. And I was so mad at myself driving home last night. And then I realized I won 3 games on people that are like twice as good as I am and have like at least a decade more practice than I do. Don't be so hard on yourself. So it's been about an hour and a half, and it's probably the longest I've been on a live stream this year, I think. Now we've got about 14 of us here, so anyone that's watching this live and you haven't typed a comment or said hello, don't be shy. And any comment that you write, as long as it's not a curse word or anything, um, would definitely help uh, promote this stream. I also know it's an odd time of the day. Hey Janice. Oh, the dog. He's good. He's good. We took him to a pet expo over the weekend, and he got to meet some other doggies. We take him to a dog park uh, with the smaller dogs, of course, on most Sundays. He's good. He's well trained. Still does his tricks. I mean, being that he's a Shiba Inu, um, there's training more advanced tricks takes more time. Like learning to crawl for a long distance takes time. Thanks, Angela, for that comment. I'm glad you like whichever paintings I do. Himisaki. Oh, thank you. Glad it looks like a classical painting. That's uh that's perfect. That's what I'm going after. It's going for. And then soon I'll put in the tiara and the jewelry that she's wearing. It's good to have a sharp edge once in a while when everything is soft. Hey Janice. No, I'm not using strictly water mixable anymore. These are regular paints. He's good. He's good. He doesn't enter this room, so this room is isolated from the little doggy. I bring him in here once in a while, like to show him on camera, but he's safe from the paints. I used the water mixables for almost like a year, or I think it was a year. But he's good. He's happy. I wanna get him like a brother or a sister one of these years. I have two Shiba Inus or a border collie. I kind of want a border collie, but in time. He's about a year and a half now. He's an adult doggy. Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to take on double the work just yet. Hey Misaki, did I go to an art academy? If so, did you maybe know what they want to see in a portfolio? Hippie artist, you are still using waters? No, this is traditional oil paint. But it's much the same thing. It's just I ran out of some colors, I guess, with my water mixables and needed some other colors. And I didn't want to buy any extra stuff, so I'm just using what I have. Yeah, I went to Studio Incominati in Philadelphia, and I'll write the name down. The school that I went to, but this was over a decade ago, so it's gonna be different. I don't know how it's doing now, but I'm sure it's fine. So yeah, it was almost a decade ago. More than a decade, actually. And portfolio wise, they are a traditional uh, painting school. So they would want to see things like this, portraits. Um, Most instructors can tell if it's done from a picture or if it's done from life. You know, like if it's a really a smiley thing, watch out for smiley paintings. Then they can tell right away that it was done from a picture. But a calm expression like this is a natural pose for somebody to hold for an extended period of time. So they may not know that this wasn't painted from life. I mean, we're not wizards. We can't figure out that it wasn't painted from life all the time. But a big giveaway is a smiley portrait. Yeah, watch out for a smiley portrait. The most beautiful thing about a portrait painting is that it's not just one moment, it's a series of moments. Especially when you're painting someone from life, you can really capture their character better than a camera ever could. It's a series of moments, not just one random snapshot. You observe people's micro expressions. If you talk to them while they're posing, you get to know a lot about their life. It's a great experience, and I'm trying to mimic that with this painting. Yeah, no problem. All right, let's put in the jewelry. Probably do some of the curls with the hair, cautiously, of course. I like to start with the dark. I'll switch brushes now to a sable. Same thing with the tiara, excuse me. Same thing with the tiara. Now let's put some of the background on the top first. Gets lighter. I'll make it a tad bit lighter, more blue. Remember in the beginning I said you gotta edit some stuff from the picture. You get to choose. I chose to make that slightly lighter. It's still white and blue. I'm gonna edit the tiara because I think it in the picture it takes too much attention away from the face. Not sure how I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna just figure it out as I go. Kind of like how I've seen in some Rembrandts. It's kind of obscure, this stuff. Don't really know what it is. All you know is that it is. And this is how you take a chance in a painting. You change the composition drastically when you add something like this. Taking a risk. Some people might like it, some people won't. Some people won't like it, some people will. All that doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel about the composition itself. Composition is not really something that can be taught, it's a matter of feel, as Nelson Shanks would say, but there are some things in composition that can be taught, such as using odd numbers, main diagonals in compositions. Like this is a main diagonal, something coming out that way, which is why I'm pushing this top part a little higher here. In the reference, it's going that way, so I'm going to change that. Now for the light on the hair. Dark hair can be tricky. The light in dark hair, and I usually say just add some skin tone to it so that it doesn't go too blue. So I might do something similar to that. Let's experiment now. The middle brush. It does look rather blue in the picture, but I'm going to avoid that for now. Get the fan brush. So it doesn't glare too much. Not that it's glaring that much at all. Angela, you wrote, it's harder when other person asks for changes mid-painting. Steps are added for changes. He took a year thinking about what to do. Don't worry about it. I mean, it kind of sounds mean to say, but in the end of the day, it is your painting. Unless it's a commission, that's a different story. If it's a commission, you do what they ask you to do, and you don't ask questions. All right, so let's put in that curl. It's gonna be kind of a risk, but I feel like it should be done. First, I'll put in the shadow for the curl. Yeah, I'm glad you like the tiara. All right, changing brushes now. Now we'll actually paint the hair. To get an inky kind of line, you want a lot of paint and then you want to thin it out. So it becomes kind of like ink. Yeah, and this is one of those things, it would be easier to do if it was dry. But if I thin the paint out enough, it'll look as if it were painted onto a dry painting. So we're 7 minutes away from 2 hours. So pretty good for about 2 hours painting. I'll give her a necklace. Can't see it that well, but it's there. Now we can really start to key in some lights. By key the lights, I mean there are many ways to use the word key for the lights, but what I mean is by value and color. Each one of these lights now has to be differentiated from one another. The forehead actually isn't receiving as much light. So I'm going to key it down in value. Which will push this up. Hey, Elizabeth, thank you. Here's where you gotta find your aesthetic, your own personal aesthetic. Some things may feel like they need to be changed. Like I'm looking at this and I feel like this is too sharp. You just gotta let it happen naturally. You don't want to force these things. No worries, Elizabeth. Yeah, in my head, I was actually kind of aiming for the 2.5 hour mark. When I titled this portrait sketch, I had in mind a video that I saw a long time ago by uh, artist named Jeremy Lipking. So I'm sure a lot of you know. But back when I wasn't just starting out, I was just amazed and what he painted in 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, but um, that was kind of the time window that I was going for. And now we've entered the stage where not a lot's going to happen in a long period of time, in theory. I'm going to try to accelerate it without forcing it, though. Well, thanks, Angela. Yeah, it's like I mentioned, it's not a lot of things are gonna happen in a long-ish period of time. This is the stage where things will start to leave the awkward stage and start to look like things, I guess, or lack of better words. Thanks, Kathy. There's always an awkward stage with me. Trust me, it's there. Thanks, Angela. So what I'm doing is I'm fine tuning her expression a little bit. Tricky though. Any little slight change in this area is gonna either make it look like she got punched in the lip, or it's gonna make it look like she's just kind of gracefully, ever so slightly, smiling, like kind of like a how a painting smile looks like. It's very Mona Lisa-ish. Yeah, the awkward stage is for, yeah, as you mentioned, the first sketch. But it becomes awkward once it starts to look realistic, because you could see the things that you know need to be changed. Like I could see some little cosmetic things, her eyebrows being too thick, things like that. And the nose not being that round. The lips were a little bit, should be a little bit darker. Not by much. This little slight smile is deceptive. What should happen is towards the later parts of your painting session, your brushes should be getting smaller and smaller. Though trying to stick with as big of a brush as possible makes it less likely for you to add unnecessary detail. A little more color in the shadow. Here's where I need the smaller brush. So the painting will start to have elements of a more finished painting at this point, which makes it difficult because every little thing is magnified. And every little mistake can be kind of like a big one. And thanks for all the likes, everyone. I know this is a much longer video than you've been used to the past year. But I really miss doing this. I mean, actually taking more time and more focus on a painting and not have it take like a month to complete. Hey, Janice, thanks. It's taken some time, but from the beginning to where we are now is definitely a record, I think, of what I've done on YouTube for a while. Like I said, I do miss this. It's a very difficult thing to do, but very rewarding. Cheekbone. This area is quite difficult, and then the reference, it's really not there because of the makeup, so I have to really make this part up. Gotta be careful that it doesn't end up looking photographic. That it looks more natural. Okay, Cassie, oh good. I'm glad you noticed the difference with the lights. Even that little subtle thing making it a little bit darker, pushing this. Yeah, definitely. All of keying the lights changes things. Hard. It's hard to get it just right. Things that looked good like 20 minutes ago or an hour ago or 2 hours ago now at this point will start to become things that you know you need to adjust, like that first bright brush stroke there. Now it needs to be toned down to a more subtle level. Every little value now has to be adjusted to such a small degree of change. This area needs to get ever so slightly lighter, not by much. Whereas in the beginning you were working with five values, five major values, now it's more like 15. And I did this kind of as a challenge to myself to see if I still got it, basically. Can I still do this? Think I can. And I want to do more. Yeah, you don't give up because it gets difficult. Or lose hope because you haven't had any motivation for a long period of time. It just happens, really. I just kind of woke up today and decided I want to do a better painting stream than I've done all year. And I may not accomplish it, but you don't give up when it becomes difficult. You don't run away from the challenges, as everyone says. You embrace them. Now we can make the tiara a little more realistic. Giving it some values now. I I keep sitting back. Of course, I recommend that you paint standing if possible, but I'm sitting because I don't want to back up into my camera. Just get a different view of the painting to see if anything is bothering you. Sometimes these are things you just feel out. It's difficult to navigate around all that makeup, but looking at the shapes, visualizing the form is the most important thing. And now we can start to add some highlights. Try to not make the highlight a dot, but an actual shape. And those are the main highlights here, the main ones. And of course that one we already painted. Okay. I think we've gotten there. It's now to a point where I could sell it if I wanted to, or show it or post it to something. Is anyone here a member of any of the Facebook art groups? I know I have one that's has my name and picture on it, but I haven't been able to change it. But other than that one, is anyone a member of any painting groups? And if you're watching this as a pre-recorded video after it was streamed, let me know in the comments. All right, so now I'm gonna stand. And all my bones are cracking, but let's see. Don't recommend sitting for that long. I've gone pretty far. It's definitely the longest stream of the year. You know what? I think we've done it. We have made a painting. Maybe one adjustment or two, and it's good to go. Okay, so just a little partition of the hair there is what I wanted to change. It maybe one last little curl, though it's not in the reference. I feel like there should be a curl out here, just aesthetics wise. Feels like it would balance it out more. Oh, thanks, Kathy. Yeah, it needed a little extra curl. But not to the point where it competes with face. Yeah, something like that. These are things you just kind of have to feel out. Okay. So, that should be good then. All right, so we have made a painting in about an hour or 2 hours and a half, 2.5 hours. So the longest stream I've done all year, I believe. But we took this painting quite far. I'm sure I'll see some things on it later on that I'll want to adjust. So maybe we'll, I don't know, do like a fine tuning of this painting later, or just leave it as it is. Either way, I'm not gonna sign it just yet, in case I see something that I wanna change. So this will be the point where I'll ask everyone if there are any last minute questions. Any last minute questions? I'll hang out for a minute or two. Oh, thanks, Kathy. Okie dokie, everyone. Looks like there are no last minute questions. So I will be back for another live stream at sometime soon. Once again, I wish you all the very best in all of your artwork. I'll see you on the next one.